Second is Indian ecosystem is still in the early phase in deep tech. So the entrepreneur, I have seen that whichever CEO is a storyteller, somehow able to take this complex data and have the ability to narrate it nicely, has the much higher chances of getting funded. Even if you look at the large US companies, the CTOs are great speakers. Indians, technologists are still lacking the articulation skills, the storytelling skills. So that is very important. So the we have to be much better in articulation, and that is the only way you will be able to attract funding.
Hi, wherever you're joining me, I hope you're doing well. Welcome to India Tech Report, a platform dedicated to chronicling and supporting the growth of India's deep tech and climate tech ecosystems, with the occasional segue into other areas of tech entrepreneurship. I'm Hari Arakli, and this is my In Conversation podcast, where I bring you conversations with founders, investors, industry leaders, and other stakeholders. In today's episode, Ganapathy Gani Subramaniam, founding managing partner at Yali Capital, a deep tech VC firm in Bengaluru, joins me for part 2 of our discussion on the firm's debut deep tech fund. In this conversation, we picked up from last time with Yali's investment in Perceptyne, a company developing humanoid robotics for manufacturing and eventually physical AI applications. Gani then speaks about the semiconductor industry in India, identifying opportunities for both globally competitive and domestically focused fabless chip design companies, with C2i Semiconductors in the first category. And if you stay on, you'll get Gani's insights into the importance of diverse co-founding teams, global thinking, and why storytelling holds the key to funding, something that India's deep tech founders need to master, he says. So welcome back. And last time we ended with the point on how it's basically a matter of time, in terms of how robotics companies in India, especially tapping some of the India advantages of frugal engineering and building for global markets, as you said, have an opportunity to do something really innovative and so on. I just wanted to pick it up from that point itself. In that backdrop, can you tell us a bit more about how you came to invest in Perceptyne and give us a sense of what you found interesting about them?
So basically, the reason we wanted to invest in Perceptyne is Perceptyne is a bunch of, as I mentioned in the last uh, call with you, that IIT Madras, 10 years plus experience, BITS Pilani, very strong in robot type of applications. And they've created this humanoid robots with tactile sensors, dexterity, force feedback, etc. And grounds up. Every piece of it is indigenized. And even in India, first before that, if you look at manufacturing, clearly the COVID has told that you can't centralize. You need to get manufacturing in multiple places, and the geopolitics is also playing to that. America is going to have its own large manufacturing houses. At least it's planning, and then. Europe is planning. It's traditionally Japan, South Korea, China were very strong. And India is also really advancing in manufacturing. India is very strong, by the way, in precision engineering, but even in the consumer type of engineering where China has a huge hold, India is also getting into it. So to increase the productivity, and there are certain reasons why you want a robot in this manufacturing houses, be it automotive or EMS. Perceptyne is playing into that. There are real problems like bolting, deep paneling, which traditionally are done by humans, could be much well done by a robot. And those are the type of applications which Perceptyne is focusing on. And eventually, if they are very cost competitive in an Indian environment, I don't see any reason, why it cannot be adopted in a Western country. And then eventually, Perceptyne type of companies will move from this bolting, deep paneling, through hole placements, etc., to a physical AI type of application.
Okay, very nice. In fact, just yesterday I had come across an analyst equity report about how EMS providers out of India like Keynes and all are expected to do well. In the Q2 preview I was reading, so it's interesting that Perceptyne is targeting these segments. Can you talk a bit more about the form factor of the main product that they are currently developing, commercializing?
No, no, they'll have a proper fingers, and it'll be a human-like form factor. And the instead of legs, it'll be, legs will be there, but it'll be attached to an AMR box, right? I mean, which can move and move around in a manufacturing place. So that is how we are starting. See, traditionally, as I mentioned in the last call, so these are all done by humans. So you want to kind of, and the facilities is done for the humans. So our first robots are very much human-like, fingers like human, and all the tactile sensors, dexterity, force feedback, and the legs with the AMR type of uh, autonomy, where they can move around the manufacturing plant.
And what is the level of autonomy that the founders at Perceptyne are sort of envisioning? Does it currently require a teleoperator remotely, or is it much more autonomous?
The robots will be fully autonomous, Harry. So it will be fully functioning by itself. It can be trained by looking at an operator doing the job through a AI. But once it is trained, it's fully on its own. See, that is the entire idea of the human like, right? The humanoid like is, for example, I give you some applications. In fact, I'm just coming out of the Perceptine meeting. So let us take, a USB power bank. Let's take a power bank. You have to put a USB pin and then take the other port of it and put it to your smartphone and see whether it is charging. Correct? So you have to insert that USB plug, and for that, if that even that power bank is moving, the robot should automatically move like human beings and accurately understand where is that hole. And then, even if it is not accurate, which is very difficult to be accurate in this, based on the feedback, like humans are very adept at that, right? We don't need to be precise, but we know where exactly we need to insert to, by some, by just moving around. So that is what the robot will do. It's fully autonomous. And it'll function like a human on this complex and dynamic environment. The key is dynamic environment. The environment is changing where precision doesn't add value, right? If everything is precise, nothing moves, any robot can work. But most of the times in manufacturing places, the environment does change and the location does change. And that is where these humanoid robots are going to be super useful. And as I mentioned to you, they will be initially trained by just even looking at an operator performing that job. And then once it is trained, it's fully autonomous.
In terms of their commercialization journey, where are they today?
Oh, they are at currently a proof of concept in a couple of large brands, right? I mean, you look at a large automotive company or a large chip design company. Chip design means chip manufacturing company. They are in a proof of concept there today, and we believe by end of this year they will have like 3 to 4 good customers who have essentially bought a few robots, and then we probably will raise our next round and go to the full traction of selling larger number of robots for many applications.
Okay, excellent. So now I want to come to C2i as well as semiconductors. You've pretty much spent your entire career on this, so and you've made big contributions in terms of developing this ecosystem as well. Um, from your vantage point, can you give us a sense of what you see as the big opportunities for Indian semiconductor startups today?
See, when it comes to semiconductor, I mean, I think probably would have mentioned in the last call, 75% of the market cap of the fabless chip design companies is with USA. I mean, and 70 to 75%, right? So the very large, the really novel, innovative companies are getting done in US, and the market is largely global, right? I mean, China was able to create fabulous companies for local market. In India, it's just starting. People like Keynes, Dixon, once they start assembling these end equipments, they will also eventually start sourcing for Indian semiconductor companies. Today, everything is coming from outside. Second thing I mentioned is a very large talent pool is there in India. right? I mean, next to USA, you can. It's almost sure that India is the next best place to build chip design companies. So there are two types of companies I think is possible. One is globally competitive. It really doesn't matter whether this company is there in Silicon Valley or Israel or in China or in India. They are attempting a global market, and you just happen to be in India and doing it, right? So that's where the C2i semiconductors, which we have put money, comes into. They produce power semiconductors, which goes into powering high compute processes. I mean, it doesn't matter where the company is. It can be in Silicon Valley, it can be in Israel, it can be in Europe, or it can be in India. Okay, that is one set of companies where you are really competing on a global market, and it's just that you happen to be in India and you are building it in India, right? And C2i belongs to that. Uh, the second set of companies is you're riding on India market. India, I mean, today India is not a very large consumer of the electronics or electronic chips. I mean, it is a consumer, but it's not large enough to demand local chips. But eventually, what will happen is there will be applications in Indian market which will require an Indian made semiconductor chips. Take, for example, energy meter. You are essentially building an energy meter today based on what is available by the American companies or the European companies. But maybe there is an opportunity there to do a custom chip which is very cost effective for building an Indian energy meter or an Indian UPS. That's another big opportunity. Or for example, surveillance camera. Surveillance camera is pretty important priority for the country, and you don't want to use a chip which you may not be able to trust. So there is an opportunity there to produce a locally produced a surveillance camera chip. So those opportunities will also be there, which is essentially you start with the Indian market before getting into the global market. So there are a set of companies on that also, like MindGrow, Netra Semi. I know, I just don't know them well enough, but my belief is they will start with an Indian market and then go, because Asia, many of the chips will be very similar to MindGrow in Netra Semi. So these guys will start with India market and then build on it. So both type of companies will exist. And in the next few years, I'm hoping more and more companies in both the buckets. That is globally competitive. Globally competitive means global customers. That is essentially the market necessarily not only in India. The other one is you start with India and then take it from India to outside world.
On the at the other end of the spectrum, large conglomerates have now committed to building some foundries and OSATs and other facilities like that, Tatas and so on, the Murugappa Group and all of them. So, if you throw the story forward 5 years, 10 years, can you give us a sense of what the landscape will look like in India?
See, so the two things. One is, so far what I've talked about is design. Okay. Then once you complete the design, it has to be manufactured, and once the chip is manufactured, it has to be assembled and tested, etc. That is OSAT. So again, first you design, then you send it to your fabrication plant, manufacture the chips, then it has to be sent to your OSAT where it is diced and assembled and packaged and tested. Okay. So India, so far I spoke only on design. So India, thankfully, with the government policies, put in a lot of effort in creating this many OSATs. I think there's 4 to 5 OSATs now that is being done, which is essentially assembly and packaging. And then parallelly, we have at least one fab by Tata's that is going to be coming up. So 5 years from now, think of it in this way. You will have a local. Today, if I have to do a design, I need to get it manufactured outside India, probably Taiwan or Singapore or Europe, and then it goes to Korea or Malaysia or again Taiwan for packaging, and then it comes to me to for testing. And once I test it in the volume production, it's all done in by packaging done by Southeast Asia. Manufacturing probably is done in Taiwan area. But that imagine in 5 years from now, if there is an Indian fab and India is 1.4 billion. There is a large amount of things we will consume. So we do our design, we use our fab to manufacture it, we have the OSATs packaging it, and we will be consumed in India. So that will really be a an important point, where the entire thing will happen in India. Is it possible in the next year or so? No, but in the next 3 4 years, I still surely think quite some chips will be manufactured and packaged here and used here.
Mm. And do you think that any entrepreneurs, the either the existing semiconductor startups or new ones will come up who will find a way to build chips for AI in India?
See, chips for AI in India already it's happening. Uh, you know, uh, there is one startup which has excellent guys from large leading multinationals who have come out and starting an AI accelerator chip. So this is like, I wouldn't say competition to Nvidia, but in the lines of the same businesses of Nvidia, the hyperscalers like Broadcom, Meta, or Amazon, or Google, right? So that startup has already started. I talked about C2i. C2i is essentially powering up that AI accelerator chips. And there are some companies which I'm seeing in Edge AI. So many of the surveillance camera also will have Edge AI. Edge AI essentially means you are doing it on the local edge devices, while the other will be largely cloud operated. So either whether it is GPU type of devices, whether it is analogous companies which will power these GPUs, or the edge type of AI devices, all startups are today existing in India, and they're also getting funded in India.
Okay, so that's pretty interesting. I guess 5 to 10 years down the line, so the ecosystem much will probably be much more vibrant, will have more depth. Um, I want to ask you a little bit more about C2I. Can you tell us about their work? How did you come to invest in them?
See, C2I team, I had known them for a very long time. I have a long relationship with them. And these are the guys who are excellent analog design engineers. They happen to be in the area of power. They have built world class products for the previous organization they have worked for. And they just, at some point came out and started this company to build this power controllers for high compute devices. And that's how the entire the investment into C2I etc. Started with Yali.
Hmm. And today, where are they in terms of their commercialization journey?
Oh, they had to tape out. It's going to take them some time to tape out their chips. Usually, the fabless companies will take 18 months from start to tape out their first chips, and then it will probably take them next 12 to 18 months to go through few iterations and perfect the chips. So roughly think 3 years is gone. Like was 18 months to sample, and then another 18 months to perfect the chip, add some customer features, and get into production. And maybe the fourth year is the time frame where they will get into a revenue mode. C2I is in the first year of operation, so you expect in 2026 we will type out, get some samples, and give it to customers to test, and eventually get into production somewhere in 2027.
Okay. You've also spoken about looking to invest in AI startups. Can you give us a sense of what kind of AI startups that you are looking at from Yali's perspective?
So one startup we have funded. We have not announced yet. It will happen very soon. Is in the area of application of AI in the e-commerce side. In the e-commerce, if you're selling it in, let's say, a Mintra or any of these brands, you want to create the entire collection in digital format, and then you want to create models to wear it, and then display it. And currently many of it is done through photographs, right? And so this company has completely automated the entire stuff. Any e-commerce, you be t-shirt or a formal trousers or a coat, they're able to digitize it and have created AI models to do the entire the ads that is being done for branding that particular product. And then there is something called mix and match. Essentially, somebody would pick a coat of a certain brand, then watch of some other brand, uh, then a bag from some other brand, and do all this and see how they look. It's called virtual try on. So that is also this AI company is perfecting it, and they've also done an exceptional job in creating 3D objects. Today, if you look at if you go to Flipkart or Amazon, largely you're looking at the 2D view of that say cell phone or a speaker, or even a washing machine. So how about if you can create a complete 3D image and then you can rotate with your finger and get the feel for the entire devices. So that also this company is mastering, and they have like clearly the best of the customers in Japan and in India. So that is a and it's completely done out of AI. It is done very cost effectively. We are not using tons of GPUs. We are using custom made uh, processors. We are assembled using custom. We have custom boxes using processors with commercially available processors, and lot of math and physics plus AI. So that is one set of company we are funded. The other ones we are looking at is AI. Any LLM can, there is something called code modernization, where some LLMs can take you to probably 50% accurate. But essentially with legacy codes which is written in 90s or 95s, you really want this LLM to be much more accurate. Can I take that 50% accuracy to something like 80 to 90% accuracy? So we are working on another company which is using an LLM, adding a business intelligence layer to it, and then creating a code which is a legacy code to the newer code bases with a much larger accuracy, like 90% accuracy types. These are some of the companies we are looking in the AI side.
Okay, so for the last section of my questions, last set of questions, I wanted to focus on some top takeaways from your own experience as an entrepreneur, then operator, and now as a VC investor for other aspiring deep tech founders today in India. When you build cosmic circuits, can you give us a sense of, looking back, what worked and what didn't?
See, Cosmic was very early. It was trying to do a product company in 2005, and things have changed much. For the. I mean, it is changed for the best or the better. So a lot of good things happening today in terms of risk capital, ability to reach customers, etc. So from Cosmic side, I'll tell you what worked is we didn't have any funding. We only put 50 lakh rupees capital. That's all we put, right? I mean, and we did the company for 8 years, year on year positive, profitable. And eventually, when we sold, we had nearly $7 to $8 million in the bank. So frugal engineering is something I think really worked for Cosmic because we didn't have any money. We had to be very careful on how we use that money. So we were very frugal in how we approached. Second is, I mean, almost always is collection of team. I keep mentioning it in many uh, in many of the presentations that we look for when we like to invest. We look for not a single founder company, which is not like a star. We don't want a star, but we want a galaxy, which is a collection of stars. So Cosmic luckily had 4 to 5 strong folks. It's not that just one person started the company. It's a collection of a 4 to 5 strong team which started that company. So that is, in my opinion, is very helpful because your load is shared by for example, in Cosmic, I was fully focused on building business. I didn't even know what's happening with engineering, and we had a very strong leaders in engineering, and one was only focused on innovation. That is what will work in 2 to 3 years from now, not today's problem. So we had a good team. So frugal engineering is one, good team is our diverse team members is second, and then the third I would also say is heavy customer focus. We were glued into customers, and we really knew what the customers wanted. Many times, the technical advantages, it matters, but what is more important is, are you solving a customer problem? So that is probably super important, and I think we had a maniacal focus with customers, right? So we really solved customers' problem. So these are the 2 3 things I would say largely worked for Cosmic.
I was curious about the way you described the company in our last conversation. You said it was a block level chip design company. I mean, for those of us who don't know the technical aspects, can you tell us in layperson's terms what that means?
So basically, what I mean is, let us say, let's look at a chip design, right? Integrated circuit design. It's very large. Multiple blocks are used inside the chips, right? So let's take for example, Apple is building a processor for a mobile phone. So they will have their own processor, which is Apple's, and Apple will need some face lock loops. They may need a custom ADC DAC. They may need a memory. They may need a few other blocks. And one is doing the full chip, which is basically the company like Apple or Samsung or Intel. They are doing the full chips, but inside that, it's a collection of several subsystems. And Cosmic was doing some of the subsystems. Cosmic was not necessarily doing the full chip. We were doing the subsystems. So we were vendors to the full chip companies like Apple, Samsung. I'm just giving them as an example, not exactly the customers of Cosmic. They were kind of procuring the subsystems from us and building the rest of the chip. We belong to a category of companies called IP providers, which is intellectual property providers. ARM is one such. I mean, ARM is today doing chiplets, but if you look at 10 years back, ARM is only providing a subsystem, right? And it's considered as the most famous intellectual property company. So Cosmic belongs to the subsystem provider or the intellectual property provider, where a chip company would license this technology from us. Cirrus Systems, which is again branched out of Cosmic, is a full chip provider. They were like creating the complete chip, get it manufactured, packaged it, and then send it to customers in Taiwan or China to get used in a product. So Cosmic, I would call it as a subsystem provider.
Okay. And looking back, what would you say were the factors that allowed you to really succeed? You know, you said you had $7 million by the time you got to sell the company to Cadence. What were the factors that sort of really helped Cosmic to take off?
We were, this, I mean, almost everybody would say that luck is a big factor. See, what has happened, what happens is, we were in this analog design, right? So, analog designers are always in shortage. I mean, the worldwide there is a shortage of analog designers. So that helped us. The fact that we had like 15 plus years of experience in building some really high end chips helped us. And so moment we came out, you would not even believe, within like a month or so, we got $1 million project from a very reputed company in America. So they just, in fact, they tracked us down that some of these guys have come out and immediately wanted us to work with work with one of their needs. So that is a big probably is something which helped. That is shortage of analog engineers, and the fact that we had 15 years plus training in this area really helped us to secure those projects.
From this experience, what would you say is the takeaway today for an Indian semiconductor engineering startup founder? I mean, any points on what should they focus on? How should they approach in terms of what their go-to-market strategy be? What would you say are the lessons from your experience?
First thing is life is much different now, right? I mean, when we started in 2005, there are hardly any product companies, hardly any risk capital available, and even if a manufacturing company like TSMC would not even look at you because they didn't see something like that in India. So it took a lot of time to even get some connect into the vendor ecosystem. All have changed now. There is a risk capital availability. There is a huge government focus with schemes like DLI and PLI. and there is an opportunity in market also. So the way in which I would suggest to the semiconductor companies is have a clear idea. Many of the One of the biggest problem I see with Indian companies is we are very technically focused. Much of the startups are getting started by technologists. But while if you look at even in Taiwan, forget US, even in I would say Taiwan, there would be many marketing guys, business guys as part of the co-founding team. So the Indian technology should understand that right from day one, apart from technologists, they need to get the business guy as a part of the team, and the go-to-market strategy should be pretty much there right from the beginning. Many of these guys will think, let me build the product and then go and hire a GTM guy. It doesn't work that way. That is probably one thing I would suggest. Second is Indian ecosystem is still in the early phase in deep tech. So the entrepreneur, I have seen that whichever CEO is a storyteller, somehow able to take this complex data and have the ability to narrate it nicely, has the much higher chances of getting funded. Even if you look at the large US companies, the CTOs are great speakers. Indians, technologists are still lacking the articulation skills, the storytelling skills. So that is very important. So the we have to be much better in articulation, and that is the only way you will be able to attract uh, funding. Third is, you don't mean the initially the semiconductor companies will have the customers outside India. So it could be Taiwan, it could be China, it could be US. We don't know. We should not hesitate to put our offices in US or China or Europe. Americans have done that, right? American would start a chip design company in US, but have the bulk of the engineering in India. They don't have any problems, right? They have the ability to go to Eastern Europe and put a center. They will have a large Indian center. They will have a test center in Southeast Asia. And I think Indians, we need to now start thinking globally. If we lack a certain talent, put them in Bay Area. If you want to have a packaging talent which is not available here, put it in Southeast Asia. Have your business centers both in Taiwan and the US or wherever the customers are located. I think we need to be starting thinking globally right from beginning. So these are the 2-3 things I would say probably is are must for the current set of startups.
Okay, so to wrap up, let me bring it back to Yali Capital. Over the next 2 years or so, what would you say would be your top priorities?
See, Yali's priority is very simple. We are going to invest in 18 companies, 3 in late stage and 15 in early stage bucket. So the priority is in the next three years, identify all these 18 companies, right? We have already identified 7. We have 11 more to go. So first is identify these 11 companies where we want to back. Once we find them and invest with them, we really want to be operator in I mean we think we are operators. I think I mentioned last time also, we come from entrepreneurial experiences. We have built companies, we have worked in large corporates. We really want to be an assist to the startup founders as an extension of their team to help them to build the company. So a very large chunk of our time would go in building the startup, but of course, we are very clear that the founders are the main actors and we are supporting actors, and we want to assist the founders in whatever way, by connecting them with venture funds, by connecting with them on the marketing strategy, or simply spending more time with them in every aspect of building the startup. So these are the very simple 2 3 important steps. Find the rest of the 11 companies, spend a lot of time with the startups, and take them to the next stage of their startup building.
That's it for today. For my pick of daily headlines on deep tech and climate tech from India and around the world, please listen to India Tech Report, the daily morning brief. To support my work, please subscribe to my posts at indiatechreport.in if you'd like to get all these in one place. I'm Hari Arakli. Thank you for listening.